Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Mitigating Risk in Emergency Situations. I'm Sean Buckley, Editor-in-Chief of Broadband Communities. And today we're going to talk about various methods businesses can take for develop a sound disaster recovery. Joining me today are two really distinguished speakers, Tony Espinoza, CEO of CallTek, and Darren Carlson, CEO of Halo Global. Welcome. Just before we begin, just a couple quick housekeeping items. We'll be advancing the slides automatically throughout the event. And, we'll send you the link to the webinar so you can listen to it on demand. We'll also be monitoring and answering any pressing questions during the presentation. We have left plenty of time at the end as well. If you're experiencing technical difficulties with the webcast, visit our website help guide by clicking on the help button in the corner above to the right of the navigation window. We also take in the form of the attendee. And I'm going to turn this over to Tony. Screen.
Okay, well.
There we go.
Okay. Okay, wonderful. Thank you for the introduction, Sean. So, pleasure to be with everybody today. So, we have an opportunity this afternoon to talk about risk mitigation and emergency situations. But first, let me go ahead and introduce myself. So Tony Espinoza, CEO of CallTek. And CallTek is a one-stop shop. We're a white label company. What that means is that, we sit behind a lot of operators, system integration companies, et cetera. Specifically, we do a lot of work for network operators, independent ISPs, et cetera. And this is, and primarily, we service communities that don't have a lot of options in terms of broadband availability. So when internet goes down, it's lights out for everybody. So we're here to enable operators and help operators to provide second options into the different communities they serve. And with those, multiple options for broadband or for connectivity, whether it's terrestrial or wireless, we've invited our partner, Darren Carlson from Halo Global, to join us, because with two internet links, there's technology out there to help mitigate the risk of being down entirely. So Darren, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Tony. Darren Carlson, CEO of Halo Global. Halo Global is really a vendor-agnostic solution provider for SD-WAN and security solutions. I'm really focusing on guaranteeing a packet and delivery of services from a user to wherever they need to go, and doing that in a zero-trust type fashion. So we believe in keeping everything agnostic. I think there's a lot of problems. From you, I don't know who that's from, but vendor lock is a very difficult problem. You can, like a Comcast vendor will bring you all kinds of different solutions, but when you're talking about risk of going all in, you want to diversify yourself from a technology solution, from a carrier to a security solution, and make sure that your service is independent so that no one vendor can cause you problems. And so we bring that together from a holistic nature and offer that as a managed, co-managed service, along with Tony, who provides such the value on the back end for all those other services.
Yeah, so I think, Darren, it makes sense to kind of go through a scenario, and then we can kind of walk everybody through, how we work together to bring services back online or keep them online, right? So let's say we have a Category 5 hurricane hit a municipality, and they lose, power, right? Let's say they lose power, right? So in a typical kind of a situation, right? If we were advising a network operator that's going to be taking care of like, a medical facility or a senior care facility, what kind of recommendations would we make to them to help them stay online during such kind of a natural disaster like a hurricane?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it all starts with infrastructure, right? And it starts with planning. It starts with making sure that, what would happen if people need to get a hold of people to solve things. That's where CallTek comes in. But yeah, I totally agree.
Right. So in a hurricane type situation, right, there will be a disruption of all kinds of services, right? And I think when a natural disaster like that strikes, the operator, right, if they're in the community or if they're a regional operator, maybe, they're not entirely hit completely, but at least, there has to be a way for the network operator to know what kind of connectivity is at the facility, such as a skilled nursing facility or such as an apartment or a residential area. So Darren, let's just stick to the medical side, right? Just, because there's a lot of baby boomers out there and a lot of them are in senior care facilities. If we had SD-WAN deployed, right? And let's just say that it's connected to a terrestrial line, right? An optical line or a coax, and they had a backup to cellular. What kind of value could a SD-WAN solution bring to the table in this kind of a situation?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the point of SD-WAN is to keep packets alive, and we with different verticals, depending on what type of service you are, if we're talking about medical, SD-WAN will allow you to do. You want to mute again? So I think you want to make sure you have all three different types of communication. A fiber optic line, LTE line, but even now, which is even better, is like Starlink internet of Elon Musk that a lot of people don't think about, but it's low latency, low level satellites that are being offered. So no matter what's happening, like even, for medical facilities or municipalities, it's important to stay connected. But you need obviously the access to the internet and communications to be able to reach people, but then you need that SD-WAN technology to manage, hey, what circuit is actually available to use and what is the best performing circuit to use. So kind of like machine learning of what service is the best to take to get our communications out. And then obviously you need to secure that, especially for municipalities and medical healthcare. You want to be able to secure that stuff.
So let's kind of go back, right? So hurricane hits, obviously everything's going to be interrupted, right? In this instance, let's just say ABC, senior care facility, right, is hit by a hurricane. They're affected. Terrestrial circuits, may be offline due to physical damage, right? So the alternative would be a cellular option, right? And cellular is nice because it covers a lot of territory, right? We're talking about covering 10 square miles or greater. So they just have to go fix that, and it provides a lot of coverage. And then your other recommendation is a Starlink, which is a satellite backup internet solution, right? And that wouldn't be necessarily affected, by the storm itself. The eye in the sky would be providing a data feed, to the ground, assuming that the Starlink dish didn't fly away.
Right. But they, again, it's great to have weatherproofing, right? You can weatherproof it even for a hurricane. Sure, if it crashes, but that's no different than a tower. The point is mitigating your risk and having those options, right? Cellular, cellular, just having that as a backup probably isn't enough. The cell tower could be blown over, but maybe, you can have. The nice thing about the satellite is you can bring that in and post it up.
Excellent.
Technology to be able to already have your network ready to go to plug into that, to be able to, as soon as you plug it in, or ensure that connectivity.
No, that's a great idea, right? So storm hits. There's pre-configured. It's possible to have pre-configured solutions in place, such as the SD-WAN device that will roll things over to satellite in the event that the terrestrial lines are broken. So that's part of the solutions that can be in place to help mitigate risk. In terms of, what value CallTek brings to the table, we work with a lot of the service providers, and the solutions we have in place are monitoring platforms. So we have solutions that will monitor all aspects of the network plant, so we can report where the network failures are. And then we have technology that can poke inside of a building to let us know what's working, what's not working, right? As an example, right, they may want us to monitor the camera system, the phone system, nowadays, with the IoT inside of the buildings, we can monitor, if the doors are closed, if the doors are open, if there's water damage, right? We can gather all that intelligence remotely through our platform called COSMOS. And so, so Darren works with technology platforms, and he'll get into the specifics that keep the data communication flowing. CallTek provides a platform, to operators to help keep a pulse on the infrastructure. But more than that, also take a look at what's inside the building. In addition to that, we're also working with another partner of ours, Dish Networks. And if they have a Dish Networks television system, we can even push a message into the, they have a device called a smart box. So we can push a message into the smart box to broadcast to other residents, what the precautionary steps to take, right? And we're controlling all of that, on behalf of operators, right? Because what we see a lot is that, there's a lot of funding out there. There's a lot of people building networks, but once it's set up and built, that's a lot of the story. But the rest of the story is who's going to operate it 24/7, who's going to maintain it, and when disaster strikes, who's going to be there, to service the community. And that's where CallTek adds the value. We're monitoring things 24/7. We're integrating with different vendors. So we're also, like Darren, Halo Global, we're vendor agnostic. We integrate with all kinds of different technologies. And so as an example, doesn't need to be a category 5, right? It could be, somebody crashed into something, right, Darren? And internet services go down. Same thing, medical facility, right? Because that's life and death right there on connectivity and alerts and things like that. But in a situation, let's say so switching gears to a different scenario, Darren. So we covered hurricanes. So now let's say a semi truck crashes into a pole or something, right? Knocks out, fiber connectivity to, a couple city blocks, right? Let's say in one of those city blocks, again, just kind of sticking to medical because it's life and death. In this kind of a situation, right? You have medical, and so the terrestrial will be knocked out. Potentially, people can have the option of cellular, right, or satellite, right? Yep. Yeah. And so at that point in time, we'll be able to not only detect what's going on with the physical cable plant, right, the physical infrastructure, right? But if people are going to Twitter and saying, hey, man, internet's down, internet's down in this area, big car crash, right? Our platform is also scanning social media threads, for information about outages, right? And so we're not only looking at, what kind of red lights come up on the cable plant, on the physical equipment, but we're also scanning social media threads, for reports coming from the people, right? And we take all of that information in, and then from there, we're able to go ahead and broadcast custom messages. So people start calling in to the support line saying, hey, this service area, on Main Street is affected by a car crash. We're aware of the issue, and we're working to resolve the issue. We're working to resolve the situation. And then from there, we can also provide people the option to, press pound. They'll receive an SMS message with the ticket number and maybe a hyperlink to the status of the service provider's network, right? So these are the capabilities, right? So just to recap, right? Truck crashes into some kind of a post, knocks out the terrestrial internet, and then you get a bunch of people that go on their mobile phone, right? And they start tweeting about, hey, the car crash, and we don't have, I'm in this building, this location, we don't have internet. We're scanning those social media threads, for outage type notifications. Once we validate it, we'll go ahead and immediately post something on the IBR for the service provider we're taking care of. And when people dial in, they'll be notified and they'll be kept up to date via SMS. Those SMS messages will contain things like service status links, ticket numbers. So the customers can just self-service themselves, click on those links to find out what's going on. So that's, again, some additional value in a different situation of what CallTek brings to the table. Darren, in a situation like that, again, terrestrial's knocked out, and on your side, on the Halo Global technology side, what kind of a gear would help to mitigate the risk of going dark in a building?
Well, sure, and I want to get to that, but I want to hit on a point that you made earlier that's very important, I think, for everyone from a community, an operator, municipality, whoever you are, is, there's a lot of funding out there in the world, and there's a lot of, great, you spend all this money, potentially millions of dollars to get an infrastructure and put something in place. Well, that's great. And what do? You expect it to operate. You expect it to do what you purchased. Well, without having the right operator and right company like a CallTek and a Halo Global that is watching that over time, because these things, the oh shit moments don't happen all the time, right? That those are once a year, once every 5 years. But when they hit, it's really bad. And you invest and you spend all that money in the infrastructure to make sure that when that does happen, that you have a solution that can keep things alive. Well, if you don't have the right operator that is maintaining that throughout, all of a sudden, all that investment's worthless because things break and don't get fixed, and then it doesn't operate like what you expected. So I think I wanted to hit on that because that's the most critical piece, I think, when you're talking about investing in infrastructure and networks on the operator side. Is it's easy to forget that, wow, there's maintenance that needs to happen continually to ensure that investment. And back to that scenario, Tony, there's a number of technologies, and it's a very crowded marketplace that's going on right now, and there's a lot of consolidation. I mean, I'm sure many of you heard of VeloCloud and VMware and Versa and all these other technologies. Well, all of them pretty much do 80% of the same thing, right? Their goal is to ensure packet handling of that tertiary route. But then you really need to get into, what type of business is it? I look at it differently than even medical, Tony. You take like work at home, people have an office space. You've got a municipality, you have government employees, you've got, apartment building, they're working from home. And their jobs and their careers rely on connectivity now. So we've got to have something into those facilities as a business that ensures that those people can work. And so that's where these technologies really come into play that we'll kind of show in a little bit.
Hey, can I just break in with a question? Just wanted to ask interesting perspective. Talk a little bit about, Tony, you mentioned Dish, and I'm sure Halo Global probably has global partners all over the world, but tell me a little bit about that and how that enables you to respond to situations. I think that might be something that people would like to hear about a little bit more.
Sure. So we're a Dish business partner. So we are our primary focus there is providing installation services and technology services, for different facilities that make use of their technology, right? The latest offering they have, which is a Smart Box 2 and also their original Smart Box, have a lot of facilities, for integration, for streaming services and things of that nature. So through their streaming technology, right, we can go in there and post a message. And that can broadcast, to all the residents, right? So this is why we've chosen to have the partnership with Dish, because they have this capability, and they also allow this capability to be IP-based, right? Which means that we can control all of the communication into a building, right? That's running Dish business remotely from our network operations center. So also, and just to, Sean, is that kind of touch a little bit on what you're were wanting to know? Okay.
For sure. I mean, we do
Yeah.
talk to a lot of businesses that, are global and, again, you have to work, no one network goes everywhere. So, you need those
Right.
partners. Yeah.
Right. We need, so we value our this business relationship. I mean, we work with, their leadership, and, they have a lot of, great people, and we're very close with their engineering team, and, we're always kind of going back and forth on different ideas. So I also wanted to backtrack a little bit, in terms of, having a business, having a facility, with infrastructure that's high availability, so on and so forth, right? So scenario is, right, so Darren advises somebody on what infrastructure to purchase, right? They go out, get the funding, install it, operate it, and if it's not maintained, and if there's not somebody keeping an eye on things, just like a house that doesn't have any tenants, it'll just start falling apart by itself. Most commonly what happens is, there's nobody that's managing the ritual of testing all the backup systems, right? So, that involves, turning on the generator, making sure that the things that are supposed to have power. That's also making sure that somebody's logging all the activity of the generator. That's making sure when the generator goes on, when it fires up, that all the security, and all of the security systems are still functioning, right? What I mean by that is the firewalls, right? The SD-WAN, the core, the core fabric of the network, making sure that, security configurations such as VLANs and things of that nature are in place to, still, keep everything secure. I've been in a lot of situations where we get involved and we start testing some of these systems and the whole thing falls apart.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely, Tony. I've got plenty of examples of that, of someone, 3 years they spent $15 million on infrastructure, and it's been sitting there not operated. And now it's, for a very low amount of money to have someone constantly maintaining it. Now they've got to go and spend, another huge amount of money because it's all falling apart and they've got to replace it. So that's why I think that's such a critical function of that. And then we'll talk later and talk about data backup, because obviously your infrastructure and your information is very important as a business. And so how do you ensure that data is available in a good way to recover from something?
right. So, I mean, I'll give you another scenario that's happening right now. There's a lot, we dealt with the situation where somebody got stuck in an elevator and they weren't able to get help because the phone line to the elevator stopped working. I mean, whoever uses that thing, right?
Yeah.
So that's a big problem, right? Who's responsible to test the elevator line? And so what happened, it was dead. Somebody got stuck in there and they were stuck in there a while. So as a backup solution, we installed a cellular enclosure, right? So the elevator and the fire panels and the burglars, right, are now functioning off cellular. And, even then, with that done, we still have to monitor all the cellular metrics and make sure everything's nice and healthy. So, I mean, the maintenance and the support and the rituals of doing tests and all that's critical, to maintain a high performance network. So when the oh shit moments happen, the systems are there to support everybody.
Yeah, and Tony, this sparks another memory of another scenario. I think most people probably in the country heard of the ransomware that happened to the oil pipeline on the East Coast and shut down the oil pipeline for days and days, and they're losing millions of dollars an hour. Well, that happened because of ransomware. And how does ransomware happen in any type of business? It's still happening, right? Everyone, like, all of a sudden the media stopped covering it, because of other things. There's other things to cover. It didn't mean that this stuff is not happening. And for any type of business or municipality, this is just going to start happening more and more and more because businesses have insurance on it. And the people that, the bad actors that are doing this know, hey, we'll get paid. And there's really no ramifications. So again, how do you protect your business from that? One, it's the infrastructure, it's the monitoring, it's the operating of the network that's looking into those things and seeing what's happening. Then two, it's really making sure you have the data backup, because no one's ever going to spend the money to fully secure their infrastructure. It's just not realistic, and you really can't guarantee that. So in our opinion, to mitigate that oh shit factor is you need to be able to quickly pivot. But that comes back to the testing, like the elevator line, Tony, right? If you're going to invest in a great data backup solution, you've got to test that, hey, you can recover from that. And you've got to have an operator like CallTek and Halo and the infrastructure that can really, ensure that that happens.
That reminds me of the time that we pulled a ransomware attack on Halo, and we wanted you to actually make the payment to make sure we went through the full scenario.
Yeah, it's a good way to get people to pay.
That's right. So go ahead, Sean. Sorry.
Someone asked about the social media platform. That actually got my attention too. Is that proprietary to CallTek? That's kind of an interesting application that would make a lot of sense to help you guys and Halo be very responsive. But
yeah, we scan Twitter. So we scan the threads, the Twitter threads, for mention of outages, and not necessarily even just outages, right? But also, hey, my Netflix isn't loading. I'm having issues with Amazon Video again. I got knocked off my my webinar, right, because of my lousy provider. All these kinds of keywords and things of that nature are part of what Cosmos monitors, right? So it's not, again, a lot of the systems out there are just kind of a single play. They just have a single dimension of monitoring the heartbeats on infrastructure. Our system's multi-dimensional, so it's looking at the heartbeats of the core infrastructure, and then also, in business situations, all of the different components inside of the business, including the camera systems, phone systems, and then also to Darren's point, right, on ransomware, right? And this is going to be interesting, Sean, because, you think, okay, we're going to put in an antivirus and malware software so that we don't get it, right? But let's say that you do get the ransomware, right? And you're like, we've been saying, oh shit, here all through this conversation. It's going to be my new t-shirt, oh shit. But so Sean, picture this, right? You get ransomware, what do you say? Come on, you got to say it, Sean. We haven't heard you say it.
Oh shit, yeah, right. Just like
there you go. You're in the club. So there's new software out there. A lot of different vendors. I don't want to go into any promote any particular vendor right now, but the new systems out there, not only catch the ransomware, right, but allow you to restore back to the last known working state of the system. So that is kind of the way, endpoint security is trending, and endpoint means your computer, right, or your mobile phone, right? So now the ransomware and things of that nature that are crippling your systems can not only be detected, but on the fly it will work. Like Darren said, you need solutions that are going to make it easy for you to pivot. So now there's some security solutions out there for the workstations and mobile phones and tablets that allow you to roll back to the last working state of your system, which is super important for business, even for your kids, right? They want all their games and stuff, but also, you think about your community. You got POS machines running Windows, right? You got medical. You got just regular business, like just even your workstation, right? Nobody likes to be without their tablet or phone or computer of choice, but so everything's evolving, and so we're involved in a lot of those decisions, and we support everything at CallTek, not just the circuit, which is what the ISP provide, but also going beyond the circuit. So the network plant is the majority what the story is in terms of connectivity. CallTek not only covers that, but also covers the rest of the story, which is everything else that you need to have a functional day.
Yeah, and I think to hit on a couple points, Tony, that's important. When you're talking about running a business, whether you're selling internet, whether you're a fiber provider, building fiber for to a location, whether you're the actual business, what I really like about the platform Obviously, you have the technology, but that social media aspect, you know, as a leader of a business, it's very difficult to understand even what your own employees feel. You know what, maybe you think you're running the best network and you're spending all this money and you put all this investment in, but what's the true feeling of what the end user is experiencing? And that's where that monitoring of the Twitter feeds and other social media platforms comes in, because maybe it's just not a, maybe it's not that it's a catastrophic event, but oh wow, your whole sales organization is an oh shit factor because they hate working because, you know what, we can't get this one aspect come in, you know, taken care of from an infrastructure. So that's why it's really important to not just monitor the network, but to monitor the feeling of the users within that, you know. And I also get back to the, you know, where the market's going. You know, you could spend all this money as a business, as an operator, to try and protect yourself from any type of threat. Well, it's great, but that doesn't guarantee you anything. So where it's really going is to the zero trust world. You know, that's what a lot of terms you'll hear out in the marketplace of SASE and zero trust, because every network in the past, up until about, you know, 2 to 3 years ago, everything, if it originated from inside your network, was a trusted environment, and you had to start building policies to say, hey, we're going to trust everything, and then we got to try to stop what we don't want to trust. Well, now it's really pivoted because the technology's advanced to where, hey, we're going to not trust anything, and we're only going to let people get to what we allow them to get to, and that's what stops the threats. And so it's really going to a model of zero trust, and then, hey, how do we pivot quickly if something happens, instead of trying to solve all problems and spend millions and millions of dollars, and then all of that may not even protect us.
So Sean, you know, Darren hit on some good points there. So I'm going to add, so I can be a good webinar partner. You know, so it's zero trust, right? But also, right, well, a lot of the people that are part of broadband communities also believe a lot in net neutrality, right? So they want to make, you know, you know, and also the consumers, right? So as an example, let's say a municipality is providing broadband, right? And I want to make sure that, you know, everything's equitable, and that we're getting, you know, if I'm watching Netflix, you know, I don't want anything else to be impacted, right? So part of the COSMOS platform, you lost my video?
Nope.
Am I good?
Yeah, you're good.
Anyways, part of the COSMOS platform allows us to monitor not just your core infrastructure, not just your Twitter feeds, but also you know, services that are important to the user base. You know, as Netflix might be one of them, might be Roblox, I think is what the kids are playing these days, might be Minecraft, right? So we monitor you know, the latency, you know, to each, to whatever the most popular destinations are, you know, for the consumers on the network, right? Because as Darren mentioned, it's their experience that matters. So even if there's nothing wrong with the physical plant, there's nothing wrong with the infrastructure, but if people are getting a slow response from Netflix, that matters, and they're gonna blame the operator, right? So now we can provide intelligence, you know, to the operators and say, hey, this is, you know, through social media and also through monitoring response times, you know, from popular gaming websites, streaming websites, and we can look into what's the root cause of this delay. Maybe somebody's not honoring net neutrality, Sean, and that's a problem, right?
You know, it's such a big issue, especially, you know, as we hopefully the FCC gets its act together and gets another yeah, so that's
well. And there's some cool, Sean, if you let me share my screen, there's some cool technologies around that. Since we're on the subject, I'll just share if you can let me share quick, because it's a good point to give some people on the call some visuals that will help understand this.
Okay, there you go.
You know, when we talk about digital experience of the remote workforce, it's not just Netflix. You know, you're talking users, whether you're a traveler at going to a hotel, whether you're working, you know, all of a sudden working from home, you know, and you're providing a network or infrastructure to their office space, but they go home, or they are, you know, they're a road warrior and have to travel. You know, you need to be able to understand what that experience is, not only from social media, but what is their experience, you know, because you can't control what the hotel is, their network is operator, but you're providing a network and a solution because their main point of business has come to you to say, hey, I need this at all my offices, you know, or my hospital, and you give it to them, and then they always blame you, right? You know, hey, well, they're trying to get this. So there's really great tools that are out there. And again, Tony, I'm not going to talk about any vendor slides, but start looking at some of these tools that are out there. They can actually, did my screen share get lost? There. So you can actually see the performance of your users and where they're at, what they're doing. But then also you can come here and see quick little things of where the fault is. So let's say you're, you know, you sold a business or you provide, you know, broadband and fiber to a bunch of locations, and you know, you're managing their network along with CallTek, and Halo Global's put SD-WAN in there. That's great. Well, now users have to connect into that, and the first thing to do is blame the network, right at the core of the network. That's what everyone does. So you as an operator or, you know, a solution provider, need some type of tool to be able to identify that. Well, these tools can actually immediately show you, hey, is the problem with their Wi-Fi connectivity? Is there a problem? And, you know, hey, you know, you've got a user complaining, Tony's, you know, COSMOS system, and an operator sees this person complaining on Twitter. Wow, you know what, my business, I just can't stand it. Well, then you need to be able to identify, okay, how is their problem? How do I solve that problem? And there's a lot of great tools out there that actually show you now, hey, you know what, your Wi-Fi is bad. You're in a room in the hotel, or you're in the back side of your room and your Wi-Fi signal is what's causing your problem. And then you can even get more granular of like, oh, you know what? Wow, your machine actually is the problem. You've got a virus on your machine, because you can see the performance very quickly from a centralized cloud dashboard. And oh, better, can actually identify where in the hop, this goes to the net neutrality. Vendors, carriers, everyone accountable to what's really going on is you see where it's red here. You can see every hop that a packet takes, you know, no matter where they're going, and this stuff will identify where the problem is. It's very powerful and very cost-effective technology.
All right, Darren, let me jump in here. So, you know, so Sean and all the legends out there hearing this webinar, you know, once the network's installed, somebody needs to operate it, and somebody needs to be responsible for maintaining, you know, high performance high performance services, you know, for your end customers, right? So it doesn't matter if you're a municipality or an independent, right? I mean, at the end of the day, you know, everybody wants the internet to work. Everybody considers the internet to be a utility, and just like the tap water, they just need it on demand. And when things go wrong, you know, what we try to do for our clients is come in with advanced technical diagnostics, as what Darren is talking about here, right? So, you know, we do try to go deep with our tools that are kind of operating the network on a day-to-day basis. But if we need to, you know, go deeper down the rabbit hole, we do have technology available, you know, that we can share with people on the ground, either IT teams, you know, on the ground, or, you know, service technicians that can help us to really pinpoint the entire journey from a user's iPhone, a tablet, a workstation, all the way to whatever service they're trying to utilize, such as, you know, GoToMeeting, such as Zoom, such as, you know, whatever VPN endpoint. So we can provide services that tell the story, you know, from the originating computer all the way to the termination point, and provide diagnostics and visibility. Another oh shit situation, Sean and Darren, is when there's management changes at a company. Let's say there's restructuring, right? You know, these days, you know, I mean, we're all for remote work, but, you know, like Elon Musk is getting rid of a lot of people, right? So there's a lot of a lot of noise being created, a lot of restructuring. And sometimes that restructuring creates oh shit moments, not just in a business, but also in a network. And, when those oh shit moments occur, everybody kind of throws their hands up in the air and they want to rebuild everything, right? However, if you have a trusted, a competent partner like what me and Darren represent here at CallTek and Halo Global, we can survive through all those kind of scenarios and provide tooling and continue to innovate and do everything necessary to keep the lights on and to keep the water pressure going through the tap. So another thing I want to talk about, Darren, right? It's with a lot of businesses, going to the cloud, right? There's still a need for a lot of backup. So another oh shit moment is, especially through management restructuring, people and roles getting shuffled around, is that as a business, right, or even as a user or as a private business, right? How do you securely store your stuff, right? I mean, this is management restructuring at a company. This is your house catches on fire. I mean, what technology platforms or capabilities are you aware of that can benefit people in that kind of oh shit situation?
Yeah, I think what's really great is there's a lot of storage is a big problem. You have so many. It's really the storage of data, and where do you house that, and then how do you access it in those moments? And so, a lot of businesses, hey, we've got servers or we've got information, whether it's the cloud or on site, and the immediate thing they do is go, okay, we put our storage in the same location. Well, that's a very poor decision because, wow, if that location goes down and your regular services aren't available, then what's the point of having all of your backup data there? So there's a lot of great, third-party solutions that can have like the Rubrics of the world. Rubrik is a great product, but it only sells to the Fortune 1000 companies. Well, okay, what does that do for everyone else? So there's a lot of other solution providers that are adding benefit there where you move your data off with the right technology, like an SD-WAN technology and right operator, into a central other set location, not in the cloud, that allows you, hey, if the cloud goes down, I mean, everyone's heard of AWS failures, right? I mean, they had a couple months ago, they had 4 global failures in a matter of 3 weeks, okay? And they have, the cloud goes down. People think the cloud doesn't go down. It goes down and it can really impact your business. So by having your data in another location, you could spin up your own servers locally very quickly. It's all about speed, being able to do it in minutes, not days. So I think that's a real important aspect when you start looking at this.
So that locations would be like a data center nearby, or the software hosts it and it remotely puts it in another location. How would that work? I mean, I know there's so many platforms.
So you take like let's say you've got the cloud, okay, AWS or Google Cloud, whatever, Tony goes. So they all, where do they put their stuff? They build their own data centers, okay? They've got the money. They build their own data centers where they've got their servers, okay? Well, I'm a big believer, and this is where Tony's business and my business come into play, of not having vendor lock with anything. So, okay, you make the decision to go to AWS, but then via the SD-WAN technology and links, you've got other providers that are in colo locations like a Switch, data center, or an Equinix, okay, that are outside of those providers, to where those companies are just co-location, and then other companies come in and build these services, right? So you move your data into, they have their own storage arrays, and you move your data into there so that, hey, I know that the likelihood of having a location, my AWS West location, and a location in Michigan of where this backup data, it's about mitigating risk and those oh shit factors. It's unlikely that the California has an earthquake and Michigan has a problem at the same time.
Yeah. So Darren, Sean, so we're actually in the middle of launching what's called the CallTek Superloop. So we have a gigabit connection, originating in Asia, heading 2 landing points, one in Los Angeles, one in San Francisco, and then going from Los Angeles, to our data center in Orange County in Irvine, California. and then a 10 gig link up to Vegas, switch data center, and then the other one going from San Francisco to Tahoe to Vegas, right? So now, Darren, an oh shit moment at a data center doesn't need to include any kind of natural disaster. Sean, every data center has to do a series of checks on a monthly basis, right? One of those checks is, fire alarms, right? And so they have to simulate, what happens in case of a fire. So they have to trigger all the alarms to make sure all the safety mechanisms fall into place, right? So a no shit moment could be, hey, the company that's responsible to do this kind of testing on a monthly basis restructures. They send a kid, a greenhorn to the facility, and he flips the wrong switch on a Friday afternoon, and then everything goes haywire. You lose power, right? Everything goes dark, and then when everybody figures out that it was the greenhorn that did it, they say, "Where is he?" And they say, "Oh yeah, he's stuck in traffic." That's a no shit moment.
Right. Yeah.
However,
and it's real. That's a realistic scenario, right?
Yeah.
You look at the marketplace, private equity firms, right? Private equity firms are getting so big, and what are they doing? They're buying up businesses. Their first role is to restructure and reduce costs so that they can, increase their profit. And it happens a lot, and that actually hits on a good point, Tony, of which, again, why I think that every business and every solution provider, every business should really talk about going with a provider that's agnostic, like a CallTek, that has locations across the globe with people that can look at stuff, geographic redundancy, but also around the solutions that they pick, to where you're not vendor locked. You don't want to be in with a big carrier, right, and be locked into that carrier, because if they fail, you fail. You want to have independence across multiple.
Right, and also, I guess a big takeaway is don't allow any critical system to be tested on a Friday afternoon.
Never. You don't do migration or tests on Friday afternoon.
Nothing close to beer o'clock, Sean. No. It's not allowed. Because within 2 hours, the guy that could fix it, he's out of commission. He's done. That's another type of oh shit moment. Yep. I want to touch on one last thing, and I know we're coming up on our time here, but one of the other systems that we deploy and manage for our customer base is Wazoo, and Wazoo, it's an incident and reporting system, and it logs all the activities that are happening, for an individual, for a business. At CallTek, we're running about 6,000 computers and probably about 200 servers that we're responsible for. And the kind of things that we catch on is, let's say, Sean, he grinds 12 hours a day, right? He starts at 9 and he clocks out at 9 p.m., right? But now one day we see Sean logging in at 7 in the morning. So, so Wazoo provides machine learning technology, right? So that we can pick up these exceptions, right? These anomalies, and have somebody take a look to make sure it's really Sean logging in at 7 in the morning, right? So these are additional technologies that we put into place so that we can pick up on failing components, on camera systems, on phone systems, different type of storage, infrastructure, so on and so forth, right? We try to catch things before it becomes a total oh shit situation, right? So we have technology and services in place that prevent our customers from going into oh shit, and once we are in oh shit, we help get the customers get out of the shit.
Yep.
Darren, do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I think it's getting with the right people that can help you plan and ensure that something doesn't happen, and then operate it the best you can. But even more so, it's who can help you navigate when it does happen, that you can do it effectively and quickly. Speed is everything, especially when oh shit happens, right? You've got 1 million people, you've got executives screaming down the throats of people, you've got investors, you've got customers, and that takes up time. So you need a partner that can help you absolutely navigate that and execute in a very efficient, quick way so that everyone can move on with making money and giving service.
Right, and to that point, Sean, I mean, at CallTek, we have two metrics, okay? So if we need to get engineers on the ground, we have appointment success. So we commit to being there in an hour. That's a measurable metric on our end, with incentives and penalties tied to it. So, if we make a promise of being on time, we run a appointment success metric. If we commit to calling you back in 1 hour, we have a follow-up success metric in our operation, in our business, right? Because at the end of the day, keeping a promise is very important, especially in a critical situation, right? One thing growing up I learned is that all we have is our word, and I think the importance of being honorable to your word is amplified when you're running a network and when you're an operator, right? It's a good business and it's good practice, and it's something that is measurable and has consequences in our business that we run. And like I said, it's a white label business, so we represent people's brand. There has to be trust and the execution of how things get done.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the most important thing, service and trust and work, you got to be willing to put in the effort to be an operator to provide to the customer what they're expecting you to do, but then you've got to build trust on that execution, right? Your word is important.
Right. So
if I could just jump in, just to the audience, if anybody wants to ask some questions, we still got another, like a good 7 or 8 minutes here, so I encourage, if not, I'll throw some more questions out. But can I just ask one, Tony? You talked about some new product you're having. What was that called? The Super Group? I just want to make sure I understood what that was.
Yeah, it's the CallTek Super Loop.
Super Loop. Okay. Yeah, that sounds. I'm looking forward to hearing more about that. So.
Right. Because we provide services worldwide. So we provide services to people in Asia, Australia, the Americas, the U.S., Canada. So there's a need, to have this kind of redundancy worldwide, and everybody has outages. It's a worldwide phenomenon. Delivering world-class, customer support is a worldwide phenomenon that everybody wants. So, so we're happy to provide it to all of our customers. So I'll share more of that with you soon.
That sounds good. It sounds like an interesting.
Yeah. And we should. We're going to spend some time to try to make some spiffy T-shirts too. It's going to come with some swag.
No, that's fun to have. Another question just did come in that's kind of interesting. What are the high-level processes that both of you recommend to follow in an emergency? I mean, since that's what we're talking about here, these moments, and what are some of those processes that people should go through? Businesses.
I'll jump in on that real quick as far as what we do, and then you can take it. Right. The very first thing is assessment. Okay. What is happening? How did it happen? What are you doing? Number two is prioritization, right? Is talking to the business leaders of that is, okay, what is your utmost priority from a restoration perspective, right? Quickly getting to that playbook and plan, okay? And then it's really about communication. The next biggest piece is communication. So many people, when you have those moments, like I said, you've got so many vested interests and you got so many people talking, you got so many people to answer to, and having an effective method of communicating to all of those individuals so that they can go communicate to their constituents is very, very important. So what we do is in those situations, we have our internal outage bridge, okay, where all the people are doing the work, and then you have your communications organization, right, which is essentially a team that's dedicated to all the internal parts of just listening. So they sit there, they listen to what's going on, let the people work to restore it, and take that information and get it out so that businesses can make effective decisions. And then obviously it's, then executing on that. So that's kind of the structure that we take it in.
Yeah, Sean, there's some general frameworks out there, NIST, NIST provides some good framework around disaster recovery, and they provide some templates and things for people to look at. More than anything, it's about putting thought to paper, right? And also assigning names to roles and responsibilities of who's going to execute what. And I think a good rule of thumb, for operators and for organizations that are running 24/7 businesses or critical businesses is having a young guy or a young lady on staff that has no attachments. Because when disaster strikes, I mean, you're going to have all your leadership there, but they have kids, they have relatives, they have others to take care of. So they can't be there all the time, right? And nobody, when you talk disaster, it may not be a 24-hour event, it might be a 2 to 3 day event. And in those kind of situations, it's good to have, some young people on the team that don't have those kind of attachments that can stay there and do the long hours required to pull everybody through these kind of tough situations, right? So that is my kind of advice to people that have critical businesses. You need to have some young folks on your team that can do the long haul hours to get us all through.
Well, yeah, I think that's a good point. It's planning around your, if you're a leader, it's planning around your employee base, So, I have a person in Halo Global. We've got, hey, we want very aggressive, people that want to grow. We want people that just want to kind of do the job and they're comfortable in their life. Like we said, we want young kids that are very, very aggressive. So you got to balance that to ensure exactly that type of stuff.
Sean, we face a situation now here. It's going to be interesting when I share it with you, but I was out in the Philippines, right, in Asia out here, and they got hit by a hurricane. A typhoon, but with it's known as the hurricane by a lot. They can relate to that. So situation was pretty bad. We had hundreds of people in a building. All the electrical went out, and a lot of the resources, the water is run by electrical pumps, so there was no flowing water. And I didn't know. I was doing an assessment of how bad things were, and somebody came and said, "Sir," I go, "What's going on?" "We had to seal one of the floors up." I said, "Why is that?" He said, "The smell is too terrible." I go, "What do you mean?" "Sir, we have 400 people trying to take a shit, and there's water can't flush." It's a real situation, right?
Right. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. So so again, we got a bunch of young people to go and figure out where to get water from, and we assembled a whole task force. So we've been through a lot of it, man. We've run internet through barbed wires, had to deal with no water, had to deal with piles of shit. So we've been around. This just isn't a marketing pitch, right? I mean, we've been through the trenches. We're in the trenches every day. It's right. What we love to do, and we hope to share our experience and our knowledge with the community here at Broadband Communities.
Yeah, no, we're looking forward to. And Darren, have you ever had any large-scale emergencies that you've had to deal with? And any kind of examples?
Yeah. I mean, I think I could name so many, because again, as a network, we're a managed service provider of Halo Global, so we're managing businesses' core networks. Okay, so we're literally, we see everything that happened. I'll talk about the East Coast. My biggest one was 9/11. Okay, I'll tell you, I was a network operator, and all of 9/11 happened, and the entire fiber infrastructure going overseas to the pond and that fed the Northeast, okay, went down. So not only obviously is there the decimation of all the people and that's dying, not only that, you have the whole Eastern Seaboard and any communication now cut with Europe. Okay, and so planning and figuring out how do we navigate and move traffic around the globe and try to figure out, it was a daunting task.
Interesting. Well, great. We're just about out of time, but I want to thank both of you, for a really interesting discussion. I look forward to hearing more from both of you. I mean, it's some really interesting themes here, and I think whether it's a big business or it's a small business inside of a small municipality or a rural county or something. But again, I want to thank both Tony and Darren for the great conversation today, and I look forward to talking about to both of you more in the future. And again, to our audience, thanks again for tuning in today and be able to access the webinar on demand. Thanks again for CallTek for sponsoring the webinar. Thanks everybody and I guess have a great day. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks everybody. Bye-bye.
Yep. Bye-bye.